So let's take a look at the LAV-25. One of the coolest things about the LAV-25 is that every entry hatch is now animated, and you can interact with it by opening it, closing it, and getting into the vehicle. So let's say you want to get in the front of the vehicle, you have to climb up on it. You have the driver's hatch, commander hatch, gunner hatch. So I'm going to get into the driver's hatch, but I'm going to switch to third-person view so you can see the animation. He opens it, and even the entry is fully animated. I think it's one of the coolest things in the game right now. I think it's even cooler that they added that, and they also added it to the BTR and the other new armored vehicle. I think it's even cooler than the LAV-25 itself. Because it really, developers are now, I think they're now starting to fill out that animation-less gap between different gameplay systems. Okay, so now it's okay. You see those are Periscope mirrors, and it appears this vehicle that's the only way for the driver to see out of the vehicle without sticking his head out. And that's currently not working, but the way it's in your face means there'll probably be a feature in the game, because I think the Arma 3 tank DLC had working Periscope mirrors. So how do you use it right now? Of course you can use third-person view, but that's lame. So you can, a new feature can actually peek out of the hatch. So if you just tap the Y key on the German keyboard, you can just open the hatch. Tap it again, you can close it. You can hold it, and the character will open it and peek out of the hatch. And it's an extremely cool feature, but I think it needs an addition, because many games that have tanks have that feature. For example, Postscriptum has it famously. But in Postscriptum, the feature is completely useless, because it exposes the character to enemy fire, and most players don't ever use it in combat. And now in this vehicle, it's pretty cool, because the character only peeks out as much as he has to see over the edge. What the game should have like a seamless peeking system for hatches. So you could like peek out fully, so most of your torso is exposed, or only your head, so only up to your eye line, so your eyes can barely see above the hatch. And the lowest stepping should be your head basically completely ducking below the thing. Because then you could dynamically use it in combat, so you can see out better of the vehicle. But if gunfire comes in, you can just duck it. And it should still take time to duck. It should be a snappy, quick animation, but it should still be animated, not just snap into a different pose. And I think it should be expanded to crew-stuff machine guns and machine guns mounted on jeeps. Like. Okay, so we can peek out like that. And let's start the engine. Okay, switch the gear. Now the transmission is a bit weird on the one. It has this automatic transmission, and it feels like sometimes the vehicle doesn't really know which gear to switch into. Not sure if that's realistically modeled for this vehicle, or if it's just some beta thing. But on the BTR 70, it feels much nicer to drive, because you can control which gear you want to be in. Okay, let's stop. Handbrake on, engine off. And let's switch to the commander seat. Now the commander seat currently doesn't have a working periscope, so you also have to peek out like that. You see, on this position, it's much more exposed. But what's really nice is when you duck down, like when you look at the characters. Notice how when he goes back inside, he still holds on to the edge of the hatch, then he positions his legs and drops down into the seat. See that? Also in reverse, when he first holds on to the hatch, and then pulls his legs, and then positions his legs. See that? And when he goes back inside, the way he holds on, it's pretty amazing. Okay, so now switch to the gunner seat. Okay, now the gunner seat optics works. Now the main difference, or the two main differences between a BTR 70 and an LAV-25 is that on the LAV-25 you have a 7 times magnification. On the BTR 70 you only have 2.5 magnification. Now each has their advantage because the BTR is much better as a close-range fighting vehicle, whereas the LAV-25 has a lot of difficulty at close-range finding stuff because you zoomed in too much. But the cool thing is, as a driver or as a gunner, you can also peek out of the hatch, and you can still fire weapons. Okay, be careful now, it's going to get loud. Not sure if it's realistic, like, would a gunner be able to reach under the hatch like that and shoot while he's leaning out like that? It is a really cool feature. That's not particular to this patch. Notice when you're turning, you hear the sound of the turning. But notice when you let go of the way it ratchets to its stop when you let go of the key. Hear that? They also did that for the Huey machine guns. When you rotate and you get to the edge of where the mount can go, then you hear like the chunk sound of it stopping. Okay, so let's go back inside. Let's find our target. And there's a BTR. Notice how easy it is to see at that distance. That's about 500 meters. And of course, you have a much bigger gun than the BTR-70, which is on this vehicle you have I think a 30 millimeter cannon. I think that bounced up there. Just ranging it. Now there's a problem with the particle system. Like you can see this completely over-exaggerated 10-meter wide smoke puff that shouldn't be there. Let's aim it. 2.5. Let's see if I hit the window. A bit deep. Notice how precise you can shoot like that at 500 meters. It's okay. Let's see if I hit something. Okay, it went through, which should have been expected because I think the armor is barely good enough to stop not armor-piercing 308 rounds. So it's probably going to go through here. My guess it went, not also the upper hits, went back out here. Probably got stuck somewhere and didn't get out completely. And 2 shots actually went through the engine block. That shows you how powerful the 30mm armor piercing is because it, even an RPG-7 or an American anti-tank launcher, I forgot the name, when it goes in from the front, normally the engine block stops all the fragments, but on the 30mm it goes straight through the engine block like that. Okay, now for last test for this video, I want to see how well this vehicle does against a BTR-70. And the cool thing is about the BTR-70, it has the same features in terms of hatches now. Get in this hatch, I get in this hatch. I'm going to get into the commander hatch. Okay, and let's go to gunner. The turret is much slower because it's hand cranked. Okay. And see how much harder it is to spot the LAV-25 at the same distance. Okay, I hit mostly from this side. Those are grazing angles. Even the grazing angle hits went through. Went into the vehicle. Hit that compartment. Now here's the thing, on this vehicle, I think the engine block is in the front on the side. The driver is here and it's the engine block. And that can take some of the damage and protect the gunner behind it. On the BTR-70 you don't have the protection. But as you can see here, the BTR-70 and the LAV-25, they're extremely vulnerable to each other. So they're both barely well armored enough to protect them against 308 infantry rifle fire.